So welcome back. In this video we're going to be creating the final page for our Bootstrap template, which is going to be the Contact Us page. So this is what it's going to look like. So we've got the Contact Us section, which has two 6-column containers. So the one on the left hand side will be for the address details, and then on the right hand side we'll embed a Google iframe with a lakeside location, and then just below that we'll add a section to send us a message, and this will span the full width of the web page. And when we get to the WordPress section, this will be fully functional. So let's get started in our text editor. So let's start with the About page. I'm going to copy all of that and then use this as a starting point for our new page, and then paste this in, and let's save this as contact.html. So this page will be using the same footer, so we can keep all the footer section in there. And for now we can keep the About Us section, but we can just change this to the Contact Us section. And then change the section ID to Contact. And then the level 2 heading can be changed to Contact. And that will keep this whole row consistent with the rest of the website. And the following row with the text, we can delete all the text for now, we don't need that. But we can keep the row and we'll reuse that. So within this row, this is going to be the two 6-column sections. The one on the left will have the address, and the section on the right will have the Google Maps iframe. So let's start by creating two new divs with a class of col sm6, and we'll do exactly the same for the Google iframe. So first of all, we'll start on the div on the left, which will have the address information. So first of all, we're going to add some custom CSS, so we can add our own class of address. And also, if we take a look at the finished website, you can see that the address has the darker background image, and this is from a Bootstrap well. So let's add the class of well. And the address is going to be the same as the footer section. So if we scroll down to the bottom of the page and then copy the address tags and paste this into the div on the left. And there's also a Font Awesome icon, which is just to the left of the name. So let's add that just after the opening address tag. So to add the icon, it has a I tag with a class of fa-map-marker. And then just below the address, we're going to add some email and telephone information. So both the email and the telephone section has a Font Awesome icon. So the first one is for the email, and this is a class of fa envelope -o. And then just after the icon, we can add the text of email. And I'm just going to put a generic email in there. So mail@mail.com. And then add a break tag. And the second icon is for the telephone. So this has a class of fa-phone. And a text of telephone. And again, I'll just put a generic number in there. So let's take a look at that. If we go back into the browser and then refresh. Okay, so we've got the div on the left hand side showing nicely. Just something to change in the email section. If we go back up. Okay, so we've just got a few things we need to change there. So we'll change that to a colon and then an @ symbol. There we go. So next we need to create the iframe on the right hand side. So if we go over to Google Maps, and if you find a nice lakeside location, and then what you need to do is click on the menu and then select Share or Embed Map. and select the second tab, which is Embed Map, and then copy the link that Google provides. And then if we go into our second div, we can paste this in, and let's see how that's looking. There we go, so that's working fine. We'll add some CSS in the next video for this, but that's looking okay for now. So that's this row finished. So next we'll move down and we'll add the send us a message section. So back into the text editor. And if we locate the div with the class of row and facilities, we don't need the facilities class anymore, but we'll add our own class of message area. And then all the content between this row we can get rid of. So if we look for the close and row container, delete all the images and all the divs. And let's get started on the message section. So let's create a full width section. So we'll give the div a class of col sm12. And then nested inside, we'll also add a div with a class of well. So that stands out a little bit more. And then inside the well, we're going to create the HTML form. So let's head over to the finished project and take a look. So to start, we'll add the text at the top of send us a message. We'll then add some form groups with the inputs for the name, email, and the message text area. And then we'll add a submit button to the bottom. So let's start with the text at the very top. So we'll add some p tags and then the text of send us a message. And then just below we'll add the first div with the class of form group. And this is a Bootstrap class that we'll be using to surround the free inputs. So to start, we'll add an input with a type of text and a class of form control, which is also a Bootstrap class, and then a ID of input name, and then the placeholder text simply of name, and close it off. Okay, so next we're going to add a label, and this label is going to be for the screen readers. So let's give it a class of SR only. And to link this label to the input, inside the opening tag, we can add 4, and then match it with the input ID of input name. Then between the label tags, we can add the text to appear of name. So let's copy this form group, and we'll use this for the email section. And then paste this in below. So within this form group, we need to change the input to be input email, and the text to be email. And then within the input, we'll change the input name to be input email, and the placeholder text to be email. And then paste in the form group one more time. So this time it's going to be input message, and the name will be message. And instead of using the input, we can just delete that, and this time, because it's going to be a message, we can add a text area. So the text area will have the class of form control, the ID of input dash message, which is the same as the label, and the placeholder text is going to be equal to message. And then the last attribute is going to be the number of rows we want to appear as default. So I'm going to set this to be 3 initially. And then just close up the text area section. And then just after the text area, the last thing I want to add is the input for the submit button. So input, so we'll have a type of submit, This will have the familiar class that we've used earlier on of btn-default. And this will add the same styles that we've used on the buttons in the index page. And finally, the value, which is the text on the button, will be submit, and then close it off. And I just want to add a few closing comments. And then just above the row, this is the closing tag for the 12 column section. Then just above that, this is for the class of well. So let's save that and check this out in the browser. There we go, so there's our form at the bottom of the page. So that's all the HTML we need for the Contact Us page. So join me in the next video and we'll finish off the contact page by adding the CSS.